Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, Fountain Pen Therapy. Boy, am I excited to present you this week's recap. I had an absolutely, okay, let me put it positively, worked really hard this week. But it was productive. It was productive but stressful. So, you know, this for me, as you know, is fountain pen therapy. I understand it is also therapy for most of you as well. So welcome, welcome. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, this is my weekly recap. We go through all kinds of things. We take a look at pens, we take a look at the market, take a look at YouTube reviews, we take a look at inks, we take a look at a paper. In other words, the whole gamut. And we have some fun with it. And I'm going to try for the next hour and sometimes hour and a half to entertain and keep you informed, as they say. Another interesting show for you today. We've got some novelties there, and you know, I may be going, stepping away from fountain pens per se, but it's writing instruments nonetheless. Some of you might say, wow, what are you doing? Yes, indeed. I've got some non-fountain pens to take a look at for you that I was tempted by. And so we're going to give this a little bit of a twist. Not to say that we're not going to touch fountain pens. On the contrary, there's plenty there to look at. So you know what? Without any further ado, here is Fountain Pen Therapy's weekly recap for May the 4th, 2025. Okay, so as usual, the first segment of my recap is to take a look at a little bit about the market and see where we're going. I mean, the major concern right now, at least for pens coming out of China, is how are these tariffs going to affect? I've been trying to see whether or not there's any kind of a difference comparing the, for example, prices in Canadian or prices in the US. I don't know how it's all going to unfold. I know some commentators and reviewers are starting to comment on it. And, you know, some of the American reviewers will be able to judge a little more, because there's another thing. You know, what I may see in my computer, being a Canadian, with a Canadian, you know, web address, if you will, I'm not sure I see the same things that a US resident may see. For example, from AliExpress or from Etsy or from anything else. So difficult to compare, I think. But having said all of that, I'm sure there's going to be some effects. I've noticed that in some cases pens have increased in prices, but I don't see a radical major difference yet. So I think things have yet to come. And that's, of course, at the time that I'm filming this, which is Friday evening. What is it, May 2nd? And by the time he gets to, and May 2nd is a key date. So by the time this thing gets published, things may have completely changed. But having said that, let's take a look at what I found interesting anyway in the Chinese pen market, as I usually do. Well, let me just go to my computer. One pen that's really attracting my attention these days is this one. It's a new Hero. I don't know if it's new or not, but it's the H718. I don't have many Hero pens, and I understand they're just wonderful, and I don't understand why I don't have more. So I've been trying to look at that, and this is a pen. First of all, the design I think is déjà vu. It may be kind of an imitation of a, Mont Blanc again, or something similar. But it's a 10-karat gold nib with a nib that kind of rotary piston ink, and I think a nib that kind of, you rotate and disappears on you, as you see here. They're talking about a flexible nib. I'm not sure what that means. I think that's maybe a bad translation. So I'm taking a look at this. I may very well order it. It's 104 Canadian. It's supposedly 29% off. So I'm going to take a look at this. I might just entertain this pen and order it. We shall see. Next thing, I want you to take a look at the store, the 365-day stationers store on AliExpress. There's a couple of things in here that are attracting my attention. First of all, I've showed you this before. This is the Wing Sung 630 in the yellow color. If you're interested in that yellow, that may be something you may want to look at. Don't forget that they do have the number 9 sized Wing Sung nibs for sale. So if you have ordered that pen already, but want some of the other nibs, be it fine, medium, or broad, that you may not have, that's an interesting option. They have the 930. Is it the 930 here, which is a Wing Sung? Yeah, not the 930, but the number 9 size nib at $528. That's completely ridiculous. That's just a nib. But take a look at this. Now, are they still available? Yeah. I mean, when I saw this during the week, this is the 630 Wing Sung, but with either mother pearl or what they call maki. This could be something really interesting. And I've noticed a lot have been sold out since I last checked. This one is still available, but there's very little on the pen. This one is the 630. This one could be very interesting at $200. And then they also have this one, which is the flat top, I believe. They did have some of the AdMock M800s as well, but it looks like they've all been sold out except for those. They come with a fine nib if you're Wing Sung. That may be something of interest for you folks. At least that's what I'm looking at. One thing that really got me going, and then I kind of calmed myself down. I saw this Mahjong Master, I think in the, one second, let me go back. Do they say new? No. Okay. No. I saw this Mahjong Master V60. And for the life of me, I took a jump because I thought, you see, the original OMAS 360, you came in a standard size one. Then they had what they called the 360 Magnum, which was a larger version of the OMAS 360. And I believe it's Dr. Brown that has reviewed that Magnum that he had managed to get many, many, many years ago. You can find them, but they're rare on eBay. And I thought that when I saw Master, I said, holy God, they came out with the Magnum V60, if you will. Unless you guys can convince me otherwise, I'm looking at this and I don't believe so. I think they just put in this name Master. Don't know why. All of a sudden it's being referred to as Master. I didn't mean to write to 360 to find out, and I just forgot all about it. So unless you guys can convince me otherwise, I don't believe that this is a Magnum version of that V60, but if it is, wow. The next thing, of course, that I want to mention is that, let me just cut here. Asvine apparently is coming out with a pen by the name of the was it the C60 or the C80? And let me show you a video that Chris Rapp, he's had access to these pens before everybody else. So I'm putting up on the screen some pictures or some photos of his review. Please go see that review. There may be some of those pens that may attract you. But they're using that number 8 sized Asvine nib. So I've got a feeling that rather than come out with the C2000 again, with all the issues that it's had, and people are maybe still suspect, not knowing that the issues have been resolved with that gasket, they may have chosen to go a different route. And with this pen, which is it appears to be C for cartridge converter. Apparently it's a big pen if it accommodates that big number 8 size nib. And as you can see, given the design, there's no clip, there's nothing. There may not be a problem with drying issues if it's well capped and well sealed. So what I did is I wrote to Asvine. I said, guys, I've been encouraging you. Just publish my Asvine collection. I say nothing about, nothing but good things about you. What about you sending me a couple of pens? And they said that, unfortunately, all their stock has been sent to Amazon, but that they would be getting some stock in 2 or 3 weeks. They'll send me the pen. Frankly, if the pen comes out before then, they asked me to choose 2 and the nib sizes. But if that pen comes before the 2 or 3 weeks, I may very well just order one so I can get a head start and show you guys what it's all about. I don't want you guys waiting. So we'll see what happens there. But that's exciting news. There may be a novelty finally coming out, and it's from no other than Asvine. What else have I got for you in the... That's about it, I would think. Yeah, that's it for the Chinese market. Now, what have I got for you? Let's go back to my computer. From other retailers, Peyton Street's got this. One second. I don't know if it's still going to be available by the time this video is published, but they have for sale this Parker Duofold at $230 US. Anybody who's interested in getting the real thing, that may be the time to do it. Take a look at it, see what the descriptions are. Looks like it's a nice pen, used, of course. Then I have Stilo & Stile. As you know, Stilo & Stile is one of my favorite sites, and they always come out. I got to tell you, they're way ahead of the American or North American guys. Look at this. Leonardo Ficina Italiana has come up with this new Illumina pen. So it's an aluminum Montezero. You wonder if there's some Chinese influence here, because very rarely do you see metal pens coming out from the Italians. They're more resin guys, and here you go. So they both have they have the steel nib version and the gold nib version. Steel nib version is at $155.74, and yes, it comes with that standard Yowo nibs. The good thing is that this pen is eligible, if you can see on the site. Well, wait a minute, it was a few seconds ago. I thought it was eligible for... Oh, it doesn't appear to be. One second. I thought I had seen it being eligible for different nib grinds, but it doesn't... Oh, here it is. It is. That's weird. Under the silver-colored or chrome-colored one, the nib grinds are available. As you know, Stilo & Stile provides different nib grinds from different nibmeisters, which, will give that, not ugly, but boring Yowo nib at least a little bit of character. So there you have it. And you can order it in gold, which is roughly 355, was it? Let me just go back. Yeah, 352 euros. Remember, that's euros. And this one's 155. So that may be worthwhile. Stilo & Stile as well has got the Pelican 2025 Special Edition ink. I'm not a great fan of apricot and orange and yellows, but I may take a dive with this one just because it is a special edition. And I might order this, and you'll be able to see it sometime soon on in one of my recaps. They also have inks from, hold on, I thought I had inks from, Let me just take a look at this. I had seen inks from Leonardo. So brands. Let me just go to Leonardo. Just bear with me here. Yeah, here they are. I don't know if these are brand new inks or just different. It's Leonardo ASA blue ink. Not sure what ASA is. And I'm not sure it's any different than their previous offerings. But it may be just different bottles. It's a Leonardo fountain pen ink collection, comes in an elegant 40 millimeter cube bottles. The packaging is characterized by graphics inspired by Cubism. So it may be just different packaging, but I thought that was worthy of mention. They've got all the colors, of course, so that may be of interest as well. Is there anything else? Oh, I've noticed that Pen Chalet has got my, not my, but one of my favorite inks, which is the, here it is, the Van Dieman's. They've got the monthly, and then they've got the professional collection up for sale as well. So there you have it. That's essentially what I've got for you, I think, of interest. Oh, I mean, there's the new Safari, Lamy Safari pen. I don't know, they got a blue one and they got a red one, but frankly, that pen is saturated for me. I'm not a great fan to begin with, and the Lamy 2000 even worse. One day I will get into that. I know it's an icon. I know that it's a design wonder and all of that, but to me it's just not an exciting pen. But some people collect them all, and if you're interested, they've got two more out there, and they're, I think, available on almost any. Goulet Pens got them, Gold Spot's got them, Atlas Stationer's got them, Pen Chalet's got them, Aldi North American, and even Stilo Stile is selling them. So there you have it. You've got plenty of, if you're interested, you can take a look at that. Personally, I'm foregoing that purchase. So there you have it. So stay tuned for my next segment. Okay, we're back. By the way, it's the Asvine C80. I don't have made that clear in my previous segment. I think I mentioned C60. It's not. It's the C80. And my friend at Chris Rapp is just a short review. He's going to get into more details of those pens, but something interesting from Asvine. I also wanted to show you what else am I got in the pipeline. So without... Let's take a look at, and we're going to go to my computer again. I want to take a look at my order sheet at AliExpress. I've ordered this Yangsheng vintage pen just because I like that nib. And I want to take a look at it and see what all this is about. These days I like these nibs, and I'll show you. I just got a Schaefer, or I'm getting a Schaefer. So that's in the pipeline. I've also decided to order this pocket pen, which is the PEI EDC Everyday Titanium Alloy pen. I've decided, I showed last week that I had the Ultim version. I've ordered the titanium version. So just to mention that I did take the dive and will be getting that soon. I've also ordered the Majon X1. And I wanted to mention, so this X1 is on its way, but I wanted to mention something exciting, and I still have to confirm things, but let me just cut back. I had a very generous viewer, and I won't mention names because he or she has not authorized me to do so, but he or she is offered to send me one and possibly two Mont Blanc Bohèmes. She showed me what she has, or he has, and one of them is this, usually I've seen the Bohème in kind of a black body, silver cap, white body, white cap, black copy, full black, but I never saw one in gold. And that viewer has one that's silver and black with a cursive italic nib, and has this gold version of the Bohème that I've never seen, frankly. Not that I really looked for it, but I've never seen it. But it's a fine nib. And the viewer also offered, if I wanted, that it's a she, okay? She would send me both. And I would just have to pick up the postage, and I would be able to review it. So I may take up on her offer and get maybe possibly both, so that I can review them for you and compare it to the X1, to see whether or not the X1 is of any value. I've heard all kinds of horrible things about this pen, and I've heard some good things about the pen. The nib seems to be problematic and scratchy, etc. We shall see. But the reason why I had ordered the fake, if you will, is because I wanted to see whether or not I'd be interested in that kind of a gimmicky pen. I know that Hemingway Jones just loves his Bohème, and others do as well. Fontaine de Plume reviewed it in detail, and he loves the pen as well. And so I may very well take on the task of convincing this viewer to send me both. We will review them, and then, you know what, if they're for sale, I may even make an offer. If not, I will return it to her. It goes without saying. So stay tuned for that as well. I've also got the Ongdian T1 from Etsy that I'm waiting for. So that is in the pipeline. It's taking a little long. I've been looking at the tracking, and the tracking, I don't really think it's actually left China yet. And it was some time that I had not ordered things from Etsy, just concentrated on Amazon and AliExpress, and I found them coming to me fairly quickly. And this one time that I decided to order from Etsy, it's taking quite a long time, and to my great surprise, it hasn't even left China. So a little bit disappointed there. I hope that's not a trend, if you will. So I did want to mention that as pens in the pipeline, in the fountain pen therapy pipeline, if you will. Oh, I forgot one particular pen that I ordered that I wanted to show you. It's in the pipeline, so here it is. Let me go to my computer. Here it is. It's the Pluma Estilográfica, must be I think in Spanish, but essentially it's the Schaefer Imperial, fine nib. There was no reserve price. I bought it from Katowiki. Cost me 52 euros. It looks like it's in pretty good condition. It's on the way. See, it says on the way, Barcelona, Spain, April 30th. We're now May 2nd. If I get it, I'm going to replace this segment that I'm just videotaping now with the actual pen. If I don't, it'll go next week. But I'm looking forward to that Schaefer. People tell me it's a great nib. And so stay tuned for that. That's another pen in the pipeline. Be right back. What have I got in terms of actual pens that I received this week, or actual products that I received this week? We'll take a look at pens, writing instruments. We'll take a look at nibs, paper, and ink. We'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and let's start with paper. Okay, so let's go to my overhead camera. Here we go. Now, unfortunately, I don't have some new paper or notebooks. Still waiting. They're still being delivered as we speak. But I wanted to revisit a notebook or a paper that I find is really something worthy of mention. And that's, I've reviewed this paper before, but I thought I'd revisit it. I'm not sure I ever did actual swatches with it, comparison swatches. But this is the STALOGY notebook. And what I find very nice about this notebook is that it actually feels a lot like, Tomoe River, and thin like Tomoe River. It comes in this beautiful, very nice, you can see it opens up very nicely. This was in a grid sort of design, if you will, or paper type. It's very fountain pen friendly, I believe, at least the last time I used it. I have 3 versions of this. I have it in the A5. Actually, I have 4 versions. Give me a second. Okay, so we're back. As I mentioned, I had these 3 formats, but I actually have 4 formats. I've forgotten I had the A6 as well, which is, a nice little notebook. Very nice, fountain pen friendly, so you can get it either in the A6 size, you can get it in the A5. They've got it in this, what I think is probably a B7. I forget what this size it is. It's not A4. So you have it in this size. And then, of course, you can get it in a kind of a notepad form. And this is A5, A4, excuse me, size. So I think you can get varieties. You also get different color, different color covers, if you will, soft, but, this kind of sturdy, plasticky cover, but soft at the same time. So, you know what? We're going to take out one of the sheets from the notepad, and we'll use that as an ink swatch for ink swatching for the inks, and we'll compare it to Tomoe River and maybe use the same paper for some of the writing samples or the writing that I will be doing during the recap. So that's in terms of paper for you to take a look at this week. We'll be right back. We're back. By the way, for the paper, I will provide you with Amazon references where you can buy that paper, and it will be in for those of you who don't know, I now have an Amazon storefront, so I will provide all of the links so you can go and if you're interested in purchasing the STALOGY notebooks, I will have some references there. I believe they sell it on Amazon. If I'm mistaken, you'll get the link that takes you to the right places, if you will. But I'm almost certain that you can find the STALOGY on Amazon, and I think it's already in my storefront, but I'll give you the link for that. Storefront, of course, if you order through the storefront, I will get, I don't know what I'm going to get. Frankly, I'm supposed to get a commission. If it can help the channel, why not? Okay. But again, no obligations. I'm not asking everybody to go out and buy the STALOGY notebook. You do whatever you want to do. We're not doing this to sell anything. I figured the storefront is an easier way for you to see what I'm looking at in every different video. A quick way, quick reference, but and if you want, fine. If not, don't worry about it. Okay, so let's take a look at the inks. Okay, so we'll go to my overhead camera again. And for inks, again, I point out that I'm reviewing or continuing to review the Van Dieman's Professional Collection. This was April the 20th, these 3. The Scarlet, Turquoise, and Violet. Last week, April 27th, we reviewed Jade, Mulberry, and Prussian Blue. And this week, we've got Tobacco and Blue Black. But because I'm missing a third, I decided I'd throw in one of my favorite Van Dieman inks, which is this Blue Jay Wing ink. And that will be a third Van Dieman's ink that we'll swatch. And we'll swatch on both that STALOGY and the Tomoe River original paper. So let me set up. We'll be right back, and we'll do some fountain pen ink therapy. There you go. Okay, so we're back and we're all set. This week, as usual, I used my folded nib. They call this folded nib. And I'm going to put up on the screen just a reference to where you can buy this, because every time I do with some swatching, I'd say every week somebody asks me, I should put it in my permanent link where you can buy this folded pen, and you can buy it different sizes and so this is, and you can just remove that nib, wash it out, and put it back in. It's very simple, and I'll give you the link to in the description to where you can buy a folded pen like this one. We're going to change it up. I'm either use an actual pen, or I usually use one of these standard kind of dip nibs. Okay, but I decided that this week we'll use a glass. Actually, I'm not sure that that's glass. I think it's plastic. But I bought this with this Jinao 82. and it feels like glass, but it also feels like plastic. So I'm not sure which, but we'll give it a go just to write down the description of the ink, and we'll see what gives there. So let's start the swatching. What do we do first? Okay, let's do the part of the professional, which is this tobacco color, which I'm expecting to be a brown shade, if you will. For those of you who haven't seen the bottles, aren't they beautiful? Very, very nice. These Van Diemans. By the way, you get 10% discount if you use the code. I think it's fountainpentherapy, all one word, no spacing. Anyway, it'll be in my description. It should still be working. So there you have it. Here we go. Yeah, that's a nice brown. This is the Tomo River. And this is the STALOGY. Yeah, the STALOGY, right away you can tell the difference. It has a tendency to really, really dry up really quickly. Look at that. So I'm not expecting the STALOGY to have great performance in terms of, showing off colors. Whoa, I closed the bottle. We should be doing some writing here. Just forgive me for that. Okay, so let's see how this pen writes. So this is the Van Dieman's Professional. And this is tobacco. Whoop. Okay, so let's see how it writes on the STALOGY paper. Ink again. Wow, this nib doesn't last very long in terms of the ink. Unlike, I think real glass performs much better, but on the other hand, this is much smoother, I find. Than glass. Okay, so there is tobacco. Let's wash out this nib. Okay, we'll close the cap. Try not to make a mess like I usually do. I usually my fingers end up being completely messed up. Okay, next is this, they refer to as blue-black. So I'm expecting to get a real more on the black than the blue. Okay, let's see what gives here. This is the Tomo River. There you have it. And here the STALOGY. Oh yeah, I mean it dries up even before. Look at that. So I think there's probably a real big mess on the other side. That's surprising because the last time I remember using STALOGY, it wasn't as bad as all that, but we shall see in a second. So this is Van Dieman's and it's what do you call it? Blue-black. Let me see if I can get fountain. Nah, I can't get fountain pen out of it. Very smooth, this nib, but find that you have to dip more often than, whoop, little bit of feathering. Certainly on that spill, you could see the feathering, even some of the writing here. Okay, there we go. So that's blue-black. A little more black than blue, I would say, at least on the Tomoe River, although on the STALOGY I see a little more blue, so figure that one out. Okay, let's see. Oh yes, this is one of my favorite turquoise inks. So this is Blue Jay Wing. They're old, just a different style bottle. Okay, here we go. Yeah, take a look at that. Beautiful blue. Very nice. Here we go. And put that there, and let's just see how this nib does. This is Van Dieman's. Ooh, maybe I'm not dipping it properly. Not professional. It's the birds of a feather. And it's Blue Jay Wing. Yeah, don't like this nib. It's too bad because it writes really nicely, but you've got to go and dip really too often. Maybe it's because I'm not dipping it properly. Let me just see. Yeah, I know. I think that it's a nice writer, but it just flows down too quickly and just blobs up at the start, and then there's nothing left over. And Blue Jay Wing. See? It's all there, and it just blobs up. Yeah, if you see this, don't buy it. Whoa, getting all ink. I knew I would do that. If you see this, don't buy it. Get a real glass pen. We'll do one next week with the real thing, or with the Kakimori nib, so to just give you a different look. So there is Birds of a Feather, Blue Jay Wing. Here are the three. I'm anticipating a mess here already, but we'll take a look at what it looks on Tomoe River in a second. We'll let it all dry up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back with the dry swatches. First of all, let's look at Tomoe River. A little bit of shading on the tobacco, but there's very little sheen there. A little bit of darker and lighter. It's kind of a unique brown, if you will. Okay. With regard to the blue back, you could get some red sheen. I mean, you could see it if I go against the light there. Some red sheen, and it does come out as blue-black at the end of the day. It's not black. There is that blue tint. And my Van Dieman's Bird of a Feather is a beautiful color. It's a little darker than turquoise and a little bit lighter than just plain blue. Very nice, and you get a little bit of red sheen there. Not much, but you get some. You know, Tomoe River, typical. You could see some, there's some, ghosting, but no real penetration there, okay? Whereas my STALOGY, in terms of comparison, the brown is a little bit washed out. The dark blue is actually very nice because I would say it's even got some shading there. And my Blue Jay wing, basically the same color, but there's no sheen at all in any of the samples. It's pretty straightforward. The problem becomes, of course, you can see that the paper is kind of crumpled up here, so it absorbs real quick. And on the other side, it's much more of a problem that I originally had anticipated. I had always had the distinct impression that STALOGY was a workable notebook that was fountain pen friendly. It could be a function of the nib that I used, which kind of perhaps puts too much ink down all in the same place. So what we'll do is we'll give this paper one more chance with actual, fountain pens later on, and so that we could see, because I don't want you to have leave with the impression that STALOGY is not a fountain pen friendly paper, because I've always had the impression that it is. But when it comes to swatching, it's certainly, not the best, and maybe just thicker pens may not be ideal either, but we'll see that in some of the writing samples that we're going to do. As you know, I'll be writing with all kinds of pens, and maybe we'll test it a little bit further then. So there you have it. That's the ink therapy for you this week. Stay tuned for my next segment. Okay, so I'm back. We took a look at some of the paper that I wanted to look at. We've taken a look at the inks that I had to propose for you for this week. What else do we have in the fountain pen studios? Before we take a look at pens or nibs, I wanted to show you one piece of just an accessory, if you will. And these are, you'll see behind me, you have all the boxes. These are all the boxes, different boxes that I have with all my pens. So this is one box that has, a drawer with, I don't know, maybe 20 pens. You have this one that's more of leather, a little more expensive. But I wanted you take a look at this one, which is probably the cheapest of the boxes that I have been able to find so far. Let me just go to my overhead camera to show you what it looks like. Here we go. The box is a just drawer. Drawer opens up really nicely though. Nothing fancy. I mean, you could, I guess, give it a kind of, some varnish and stuff if you wanted to make it look a little more. But what's interesting, it has two drawers, and in the drawer, and I'll put a description, a link where you can buy all this. The drawer doesn't come with this sleeve, if you will. This is something that I've added. It's simply, empty. And then you can buy these pen dividers, if you will, and I'll give you the website where you can find them, okay? And then and they're a little bit larger. They come in a larger size, and then you can cut them down to whatever size you want, frankly. And there you have it. And then, the drawer slips in nicely. It has a little place for you to put a little, label there if you want to label your pens. For example, in the top drawer, I have some of my vintage pens. But I thought I'd showed you that. So if I cut back, and you can stack them up one on top of the other. The advantage with these ones is, unlike, for example, let me just show you this one. Unlike this one's a little bit more fancy, if you will, much fancier. Of course, it's got, nice drawers. There's wood paneling. The insert inside comes already done for you, a little bit larger, so for some of your bigger pens, it fits nicely. The disadvantage is that it has this opening here, this window, which does, you can just lift it, but of course you can't stack them, because if you're going to use that level, then stacking them means that if you stack them, you have to remove it to get to the pens. So there's a little bit less, less practical. On the other hand, you get to, expose them, so which is a nice thing, I think. So there you have it. Now I got to tell you, this one here, which is made of kind of hard cardboard, cheap wood, and if you can see them, let me just cut. Look at that. Very nice. I mean, look, these are all big pens, and they all fit in very nicely. Okay, and you can, nice and wide, and it's not expensive at all. And you can get, I don't know how many drawers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can even 6. I got to tell you, this is probably the best thing. It's not the most stable, it's not the greatest looking, but in terms of quantity, this is good. You could stack them. I've been trying to find them again. I found them in one place, but you know, with the delivery charges, sometimes it ends up costing you twice as much. But these are available. I'll remember to leave links for you, and these I think are a very good alternative. They're not the sexiest, but very, very efficient. So I thought I'd show you. I thought I'd show you the pen boxes, if you will. And I know some of you have asked me, where did you get them? There are, of course, these ones as well. Let me just remove the microphone. Yeah, these ones are which are really made more for tools, but they're really expensive, and I find they're not as nice. There you have it. So that's it for pen boxes. Now let's get to the real nitty gritty. What about some pens? Be right back. Okay, so we're back. Let's take a look at some writing instruments, shall we? As I mentioned to you in my introduction, I decided that I would take a look at something that's not a fountain pen, unfortunately. And some people will say, my God, Vincent, what are you doing? Moving away from fountain pens. No, I'm not moving away from fountain pens. As I mentioned to you many times in my recap, when I do my currently inked, when I, work out my, I deal with my weekly 12 pen case that I bring to my office, there's always in there a ballpoint or a roller ball, okay? For the reasons I've already explained, and we can get into that in a second. And so I have series of roller balls and ballpoints already in my collection, but I had heard of two that I did not have that raised my curiosity. And so, when something raises my curiosity, then that curiosity's got to be satisfied. So let me go to my overhead camera. Here we are. This is, you guys may have heard of this. This is the UNIBALL ZENTO signature model rollerball, which is out of stock everywhere. It's difficult to find. I managed to find it, probably overpaid for it. I think on Jet Pens, I've been waiting for a kind of a restocking email for at least 3 weeks, nothing doing. And it was going for something like $20, $30 US. I think I may have paid this too much. I think it cost me $65 or $70, but I did it for the team, folks, okay? And the pen intrigued me. Now, yeah, the packaging's all been kind of torn apart because I've been playing around with the pen all week. But they say that this is the next best, the next thing in rollerballs. It's UNIBALL, so good quality. Now, let me just remove it. Of course, it had all kinds of other packaging, but I kind of snapped it all open. Here's the pen. Isn't that intriguing? First of all, it's an aluminum finish. It has a black version and this silver version. I chose the silver version. The very springy clip. It's a sexy looking rollerball, you got to admit, and that's what attracted me to it. It's a snap and magnetic sealing, okay, seals magnetically, very comfortable. This section is not slippery at all. So what is slippery is this cap. This cap has a tendency to roll on me in my hands, and I'm constantly, when you snap it on, it's still very loose. So as you write and it rubs, it has a tendency to turn on you, which is a real pain in the ass, I got to tell you. Excuse the expression. But on the other hand, it caps really nicely. It is you've got a refill, and as you can see, that is a refill that I've already finished because I used it all week. It is very nice and practical, and the refills are not overly expensive. I want to show you the refill that came with this pen. And some of you may be more familiar with these UNIBALL rollerball pens. Where is it? Here it is. What came with the pen is this one. Extremely fine. It is the UBR Z38, which is 0.38, so extra fine, or certainly very, very fine, and Japanese fine. I mean, this thing is sharp like a needle. I don't know if you can see it. Very sharp, and I just did not like the way it wrote. So let's look at it. So this is what comes with the pen. And my understanding is it comes in 0.5, 0.38, and maybe 7, but I'm not sure. Let's take my... so this is the UNIBALL. Ugh, just hate it. UNIBALL ZENTO signature. And it's the rollerball. I cannot write with this. Rollerball 38. When it's too thin for me, I lose complete control over the writing. It is scratchy, but it is an extra fine. People love these extra fine rollerballs. So I just got to tell you, I don't like, and it's really a question of the width that I don't like, and the fact that it scratches the paper. But that's the UNIBALL. So I was not able to find 0.5s or maybe bigger of that same model, the UBR-Z, at my local store, stationery store, so to get it to you quickly for this review. What I did find was this other UNIBALL, and it came in medium, fine, and broad, and this is broad, and it's the UMR model, if you will, and this I really like. Apparently the difference between the new ones and this is an older, they're compatible in the pen, but I think this one does less feathering, a little more precise. So I got a feeling it's just going to be a little thinner, which I don't like. But just to give you an example, I think this is the medium, if I'm not mistaken. We'll take a look at that in a second. As you can see, it fits in very nicely. I'll tell you in a second if it's medium or... so this is the... Yeah, this is medium. UNIBALL ZENTO signature. And this is the medium. So very nice. Writes very nice, I got to tell you. Very smooth. It's a gel, I think. And I wrote with the broad one session, 2.5 hour note-taking of a out-of-court interrogatory or an examination on discovery, as we call it here, of a witness, so taking notes, and I completely emptied it. I took almost a complete notepad, these cheap notepads. I filled it very quickly, emptied out. I don't know if I could reuse it. It has kind of I don't know if that's a stopper of some sort. Some of you could help me. You could see that it's there, and that somehow I think that when you use the ink, that thing comes down. So I'm not able to re-ink these things, or maybe there's a way. I'm going to look it up. I'm sure somebody on YouTube figured out a way to refill these things, but then if you refill it with fountain pen ink, will it work? Maybe not. So I'm not sure. I think they're going for like $1.50 or something. I'm better off buying the refill and not mess around with that, personally. But there are other UNIBALL refills that fit into this pen. Otherwise, I really like this UNIBALL. I gotta tell you, it writes wonderfully. It's not a fountain pen. I still prefer a fountain pen, and maybe we'll do a video on comparing roller balls and ballpoints to fountain pens and why it is that the fountain pen enthusiasts prefer fountain pens usually. But I got to tell you, very nice. So I'm very happy with this, and I'm going to, nice snap. Really nice looking. So that's the UNIBALL ZENTO signature, which everybody is raving about. Now, the next one is Tom Studios. I did not open this. I left it for the recap. Let's just tear this open. Very nicely packaged. I bought this from Lay Wines in Toronto. So a Canadian company, so I didn't have to pay all kinds of additional charges. It's the LUMOS Pro Duo. From what I understand, it's a dual-tipped kind of a roller ball and brush instrument with different tips, with a very unique inking system. I have not tried it, so what I plan to do now is just open it up for you. And I'm opening it as you and I are seeing it. I chose the black version instead of the silver. From what I understand, this thing uncaps, and you can get it to work on both sides. Here we go. The nibs go in there, and I think you can remove this end and put double, so you have double ends. Okay. So there you have that. And from what I understand, now for some reason this is torn here. I'm just wondering if somebody's already bought this. I hope not. Here we go. Okay, so they give you a little ink sample, and that you can dip in your that inking system, and they give you all these tips. So it goes from 0.1. My God, 0.1 is thin. 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, 0.8, 1 point. Then you have a brush finish. I don't know if that's a cursive. It says C. Then you have different types here. I'm going to have to take a look at all these nibs, play around with them, and then maybe inform you a little more. I know they have detailed instructions on how to apply these tips and how to hold the, how to fill them. From what I understand, it's this material that kind of sucks up the ink. Let me just see if I see it. I mean, I haven't experimented with any of this, so I don't know where is the nib? Where is that sucking system? Is it in here somewhere? Gee whiz, I don't see it. Ah, there you have it. So that you dip into the ink, and it, the capillary action just fills it all up, and you put it back into its system, screw it back in. You've already put in your tip, and you can put 2 tips, and use the pen with a double tip. Feels very comfortable, nice and long. Not a problem there, I can tell you. So let me just check out these nibs or these tips. Fill the pen, and we'll do some writing, and I'll give you my verdict. I like the ZENTO signature. Is this too complicated for me? I'm not sure, but I'm going to play around with it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. Very easy, actually. I didn't want to do it on camera because with my hand tremors, I'm going to cause a mess, and it looks, everybody's going to see me, my hands shaking, and they're going to say, oh my God, Vincent, are you okay? I'm okay. By the way, it's not Parkinson's or anything. It's just a hand tremor I've had for decades, as a matter of fact. So I've filled both tips And now I forget which one is which. But let me tell you how it works. Yeah, okay, so this is the 0.1. And the top one is the other one, which is described as BU. I don't know what that means, if it means but or... but there you have it. So this is the one. So this is the largest of the, I guess, the roller ball or the felt. I don't know how the tips are referred to here. But, okay, it hasn't quite gotten down. The ink hasn't gotten there yet. Okay, well, let's see if the ink got to the other one. Yeah. Oh, I see. This one is almost like a marker, frankly. Yeah, this is, to me, is almost very, very thick. They say it's BU, certainly bigger than 0.3 or bigger than 0.5. I guess I'd have to figure it out what it's... Oh, on the other side? Yeah, they give you the different... the felt tips, the bullet, I guess BU means bullet, and the other ones are fine liner tips. Now, it hasn't quite gotten there yet, so let me just put this back. And let me see if this one... Yeah, I'll come back when it gets there. Okay, give me a few seconds, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. The... what do they call it? The reservoir, the ink reservoir that you put into the little bottle had just slightly been removed, so I had to push it back in, and that would explain why the ink wasn't getting to the tip. But it's now there. I gotta tell you, I'm not impressed. I don't know if it's that reservoir that's not working correctly. Obviously, there's some learning curve here that I'm missing, and it may be my fault as opposed to... but there's the reservoir. That reservoir kind of got pushed out. There's something wrong here. I'm not sure. It appears to be saturated with ink. But so far, if I have to play around with this thing every time to get it to write... Okay. Okay, there we go. I think it's a nice thick line. Ah. I don't know what's wrong, but yeah, I'm not impressed. I really am not impressed. There must be something I'm doing wrong, but that tip is not getting... Okay, now it's got some ink, but is this going to be problematic for me every time? Let's do some writing. Quick. I keep forgetting this expression. I hope I got it right. Never use it. I think it's the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. I don't know if the brown is the right place, but yeah, it's working. Nice bold line. Now, it is not as smooth, I would say to you, as my... Let me just change this for the broad, so I could show you the broad. Do I have another broad? I think I do. I think this is another broad. This is the broad on my signature, or the ZENTO. I gotta tell you, I love the ZENTO. The disadvantage is that, of course, you got to keep buying these refills, whereas this thing, you know, you can fill it up. Now, it's also maybe a question of getting you. It also gives you a little more feedback, which some of you might argue is a little more akin to a fountain pen, you know. Too bad I chose the wrong one at the other end, which is a bit too thick, I would think, because this is like I said, this is almost marker territory, you know. But you could use this as your headings and then turn it around. So I think the verdict is still out, but I like both. I think it's a nice experiment. And in terms of fountain pen therapy, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And maybe it'll form part of my daily routine, you know. How does this go? This way. Okay. This thing remains uncapped. I guess it does. I don't, unless there's a cap somewhere that I've misplaced. I know there was a rubber cap. Does this go here anywhere? No, I don't think. So I guess this does stay this way, which I find somewhat disconcerting, because what's in here? What do I see? Guess I see nothing. I'm going to have to look into that. I would have thought that there would be something here, kind of a protective. Is it this thing that goes there? I don't think so. Certainly doesn't appear to be going there. This is just to protect the tip. I don't know what this thing is for, frankly. Maybe some of you can help me. You know, I'll look it all up. Should have done my homework before, but I figured I'd just dive into it as you would dive into it, without preconceived ideas or information, so that I can explore it with you. But I'll find out how this thing works. I just don't like the idea of this thing being always open that way. There's got to be another way, and maybe I'm doing something wrong, but no, it's a screwing mechanism, so it's got to be this way. There you have it. And then look at this. It kind of dries up on you. Do I have to do this every time? This is not good. I mean, I don't like that. Am I supposed to cover that? Maybe that's the way it goes. I see. Maybe that's the way it goes. So you're constant. So you're always ready. But let me tell you, I just removed it, and all of a sudden, people think, okay, well, it's writing now. Verdict still out, folks. Verdict is still out. You talk about fountain pens being finicky and not sure. Really not sure. Anyway, there you have it. Stay tuned for my next purchase. Okay, we're back, and you must be wondering, what is that on this green towel of mine? What that is my nib or that number size 9 nib from the Wing Sung Yunlai ridiculously big 930. And there have been, well, I had ordered the medium and the broad. So I have a pen that has the medium, which is the black version with silver trimmings or chrome trimmings, has this medium. And then, of course, I've got the black with the gold trimmings that has the broad. And I promised you that I would order a fine nib just so that I have all 3 nibs and that we can examine how this nib writes. During that period of time, buyers started to complain about leaks in this pen. And there could be several causes. The first one is that, as you can see, there is a small, well, as you can see, you may not be able to see, but there is an O-ring right there, and then there's another one right there. And I find these O-rings really, really thin, and I'm not sure whether replacing them with a bigger O-ring may solve the problem. I know that Inquiring Minds has suggested a solution with some silicone gel around here. But one of my fellow YouTubers, and I believe it was Shanghai Knife Dude, who mentioned that Wing Sung realized that this section, there may be something wrong with it causing the leak. And so they have made available new sections to repair that problem. So what I did is I contacted 365-day stationers through their back store, through messaging, and indicated I hear there is a replacement setting. We arranged for me to pay, I think it's like $1.50 or something for transportation, and he is sending me a replacement setting, or section, I should say, and we shall see. Now, my pens didn't leak that much, so I may be one of the lucky ones, but I'd rather have, a proper section. So I'm not sure that the section that I've ordered with this fine has the new one. I can't tell if it is new, if there's anything different about it. I guess we shall see once I get the replacement nib section, and we can compare. But I'm going to install that on my 930, and we'll be right back and show you a writing sample. The other interesting thing that I wanted to point out was that Shanghai Knife Dude is very picky on where the ink flow or sucking mechanism is, whether it's down here, which means you've got to put your pen into a bottle way deep, and when you have a big nib like that, it may be difficult to fill your pen, or when the breather hole for the nib for the inking is further up. In this case, it's further up, which facilitates things because now you've got to dip your pen only that much as opposed to that much. And some bottles, depending on the level you have, may not be inducive to properly inking your pen, especially in a big nib like this, if your breather hole is not the breather hole, but if the hole in the feed is all the way down here. The other thing is, one of the viewers mentioned to me that the best result is to, first of all, dip this whole section in ink. So get it nice and wet first, and then go ahead and turn your converter or your piston filler in this case and suck up the ink. So just 2 tips. Not sure why that's important, but I thought I'd share them with you so that you can experiment and make your own judgment. So here we have it. Now let me just get the 930. Here's the 930 where this is going to be applied. Now I'm not putting any gel, not putting any just screw it in. We're going to close that pen for now. Give me a chance so I can prime it a little bit, and we'll be right back and we'll test how that fine nib. Okay, so I've re-inked the pen, and we'll see if I've done this properly. Feed looks nice and wet, so we should be able to write with this thing now. Okay, so this is the Wing Sung 930 Chrome finish, and the nib is the newly purchased Wing Sung number 9 steel fine nib. Gotta tell you, beautiful fine nib. Now, is it springy? Any springier than the other? You know, you could, I think if you press it, you could get more ink on the paper, as you could see. But, you know, I wouldn't want to fool around with that. I think if there's any springiness to it or bounce, it's probably due to its sheer size than anything else. But as far as fine nibs go, it is fine, smooth, I would say fairly wet. Constant, we shall see, or consistent, I think is the better description. We shall see. I mean, I've just got it. This is the first time I ink it, so I'm going to give it a little bit of time. But all in all, I think this is a fine addition to my nib collection, if you will. So if I want to put a fine nib in one of my 930s, there you go. I would have normally ordered a third pen to accommodate this nib. I will wait. I just got a funny suspicion that Wing Sung is going to come out with a different version of this pen, either a flat top or a semi-transparent or transparent version. God knows what they have in plan, so I'm going to wait for that. Rather than just get another pen that looks exactly like this one, I'm going to wait a little while and see what happens, and then maybe I might get a third with that fine nib. But in the meantime, I'm going to leave this fine nib on this pen, and this way I have my broad, which is a nib which is wet and juicy, and I have a fine nib. So there you have it. I hope that gives you, the viewers, an idea of what the fine nib looks like on this pen. If you're still on the fence and wondering why and how, well, I've provided you with some further information, hopefully that will assist you in your judgment. There you have it. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and let's take a look at my currently inked for this week. Show you what I managed to do this week. So we'll cut to my overhead. So that's the case that with the pens that I put in for the week. Tell you which ones I ended up not using. I didn't use the Zoom at all, just because I had received during the week this ZENTO signature that we just took a look at. So I ended up using this pen almost exclusively at the latter end of the week. But the first portion of the week, I used these, and especially I kind of put this pen away for a while, and just, you know, it's a Grail pen, and you don't want to ruin it, and you take care of it, and you don't use it, which is not a great idea, because I just had so much fun with it all week. Just it goes to show you that. And now I've just inked this pen again. Hopefully I've done it right, because it was empty. So this is the Visconti Homo sapiens, and the paper I'm using is the STALOGY notebook that I, did the swatching with. And the nib is a fine nib. And the ink I just put in this was that House of Feathers, or Birds of Feather, Blue Jay Wing. So it's Van Dieman's Blue Jay Wing. And I just want to say something about this pen that I think is worthy of mention. I think Visconti's got a bad rap. I mean, until last year, I think I owned one Visconti pen. I now own about 4 of them. And everybody talks about how unpredictable and how, quality control issues, except that so far, in the last 2 years, all of the pens that I've managed to buy are just sensational. There's the Opera Master. There's this one, and there's some cheaper version or cheaper models that I bought from Visconti. The nibs are exquisite. I know in the cheaper versions they now have a Schmidt nib. You can't go wrong with the Schmidt nib. You know that. You know my opinion on that if you follow this channel. But this pen and the Opera Master, they write just majestically. And when rumor starts to go that I think it's the old nib, it was that Palladium nib that was so unpredictable. Because yes, it's an expensive pen, and yes, you should make sure that you get to try it, or make sure that the online vendor or just the retailer that's selling you the pen has tested the pen. But let me tell you, this pen is just majestic. It is absolutely majestic. I enjoyed it all week, and I'm glad I took it out and played with this thing all day for many days until the end of the week. I also tried out my new Cypress pen. I don't know if I finished the ink on this. Let me just see. No, there's still some left. What I've found about all the Cypress nibs is they're a lot thinner and drier than I was expecting. Talking about the steel nibs. I prefer the gold nibs, like this 14 karat. I think this is the 14 karat one. This is the 14 karat. Much, much thicker and wet. You could see, and there's a little spring there. So, and they're not expensive. So there's definitely a difference between the steel and the broad. Now this one I think was this the broad? This is the medium. This is the steel medium. Still fairly thin. I just found that, it's writing nicely now. I just found that in long writing sessions, it kind of had the tendency to dry up a little quicker, which is not something that I really liked. Let me see the broad. Again, I got to just make sure there's enough ink in here. Is this the broad? Yeah, this is the steel broad. As you can see, it sings, but thinner line. And after a while, it just, I don't know, it just wasn't performing, in my view, as nicely as the 18 karat, the 14 karat I just showed you. This is the 18 karat. So this is the 18 karat nib, and as you can see, it's much thicker, but more importantly, much wetter. And all of the inks I put in the steel nibs were all very, very high flowing inks. So it's not the inks that were the problem. So I really think, folks, that if you're going to get, I mean, don't get me wrong, those steel nibs are nice, and they're just as nice as Yowo and Bach, in my opinion. A little bit different, just a little bit thinner. It could be because it's Taiwanese, caters a little more to the Asian market, that those nibs are a little thinner. But, you know, you've got thinner nibs in Pilot and thinner nibs in Sailor, and you can't compare, you know. But they're cheap. They're really cheap. But if you have the money and you can afford it, I would go for the upgrade of the Cypress, and I would get the 14 karat over the 18 karat, but at least the 18 karat. I think it's not worth the extra cost for the 18. I prefer the 14. It's a little bouncier. So there you have it. Those were the pens really that I used this week. I didn't use either the Jinao 10, nor did I use my pocket pen here very much. So I ended up using this because this can serve as I remember going to a meeting and just throwing this in my pocket and using it during a meeting. It was just, you know, it's kind of a pocket pen size anyway. So there you have that. So those were the pens for this week. Okay, we're back. Weapons for next week. Well, you know what, folks? I've decided I'm going to go the classical route. The Mont Blanc-ish route, if you will. First of all, for the ballpoint, I'm going to take this Mont Blanc ballpoint. I don't know what size it is, but I think it's a 146 size. Beautiful, beautiful ballpoint. That's my first. What am I taking as my pencil? My Mont Blanc pencil. That's a 0.7 or even 9. So this is my Mont Blanc pencil. Again, I think it's size 146, and it's 0.09 nib. I can't use anything. 7 I can deal with, but 5, because I press on the pencil, the lead, it just breaks on me all the time. So that's the pencil. That's the ballpoint. For the roller ball, I'm going to give this thing a go. The Tom Studio, and maybe I'll change the nib. Maybe I want to play around with this just to make sure that it's not a total waste. Does it fit? I'm hoping it fits into my pen case. So there you have that. In terms of the other pens, well, I'm going to throw in the Mont Blanc. Oh, skipped a little bit. 149. Does it? It's got no more ink. Yeah, it's got no more ink. I'm going to have to fill that up, so I apologize for that. But this, we're going to use the 149. We'll fill it up in a second. What else? Well, I'm going to use the Sailor that we just... So the Sailor KOP... Definitely. And while I'm at it, I'm going to use the Sailor Pro Gear. Along with my Sailor 1911. By the way, I have a confession to make about the 1911. I think this is the 1911 long, but I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Is the 1911 as big as the Pro Gear, or is it bigger? Do I have the true 1911 large? You know what? I'm going to have to start looking at some measurements. I'll let you know. But I wanted to express my hesitation. nonetheless. Then, same style, but completely different price point. We'll play around and write with my Jinao 159, which I say is a great imitation. We'll play around with my Jinao, wow, X159 medium. Just so that I have the same look. We're going to throw in the 150. I don't know if this is inked. This is the 159. Okay, this one's a little bit, but I haven't used this thing in ages. And this is the also a medium. You can see it's crusty on the nib. So let me just, here we go. Just going to wash it up a bit. Does it have enough ink? Is this a piston? Yeah, it has enough ink. So that one dried up on me. So this is the Jinhao. Well, you could see different color came out of the pen. This is black. It means I must have inked that pen when it was dry by another ink. I just dipped it in water and all of a sudden it's blue. So that explains why that pen wasn't writing. Sometimes, you know, you don't wash it out. Not a good idea. But I often do that. Then for my red pen, one of my favorites. Does it have ink? May not have enough ink there from the window, as you can see, but we'll fill it up. This is my Wing Sung. Even without ink, it writes 630 Burgundy. So that will be my red pen for the week. So I got to remember to ink that up. And then we'll play around also with my Asvine. There we go. So we've got them all in. Let's take a nice picture, if you will, of my pens for the week coming up. And especially this one. I got to see what this gives. So there you have it. My weapons for next week. Okay, so we're back. And YouTube reviews. Well, I've got one video that I want you guys to take a look at. And that is, I'm going to just put the thumbnail up on the screen. It's Hemingway Jones's video this last Thursday regarding his video for, it's an epic video on the Pilot Custom 823. And he goes through the history and he goes through the various, he has his own way of doing an actual review of a pen, which is spectacular. I just wish I had the talent and just the dialogue. It's well planned. It's the B-roll he uses is excellent, and towards the end of the video, he asks his YouTube friends or part of the community to voice their opinion on the 823, and I'm one of them. I think he asks Pilot representative, he asks Drew Brown, he asks myself, and then Atlas Stationers. So it's fun. If you guys want to take a look at it, you'll see my final conclusions on the 823. But more importantly, I invite you to take a look at that video. It's fabulous. It's a Hemingway Jones classic, in my view. In terms of my own videos, what have I got for you? Well, first thing I want to mention is that in last week's recap, I had mentioned that I was having some second thoughts about whether or not I will be able to keep up. What's going on with the camera's not? Okay, there we go. I was wondering whether I would be able to keep up these recaps every week, which involved not only a lot of work, but some purchases, and a lot of you were fantastic. I mean, I even got some some suggestions saying, look, if you want to do it only every 2 weeks. Some people were categorical. No, Vincent, you got to do it every week. You don't have to buy pens and paper and ink every week. You got plenty of pens in your collection. You can go over. We just want to hear you for a week, every week. So nobody suggested that I give up. Nobody suggested that this thing is not something you enjoy. So you know what? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And if I change the format, I'll let you know. But it's not in the cards right now. And what I said last week stands. I enjoy doing this, so long as I can afford it and it's not too taxing, I'll keep going. One thing that's going to happen is that starting this Saturday, my golf game starts. So I'm playing golf at least 3 times a week, probably Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that might cut into things. Normally take Friday and Saturday, full day to put the video together. But if I, playing golf for half a day, I'm losing half a day on Friday and half a day on Saturday. That leaves me less time, so I'm going to have to kind of work it in and work faster and just make sure I get it done. But having said that, failing that, I think we're going to keep going at it. So take a look at my recap from last week. There are some interesting tidbits there. I also remind you of my Asvine collection video. Did very well. You guys appreciated that. Take a look at that. And then there I have this Mayora Ogaiva. Didn't do as well as the others, but it's a beautiful pen, folks. It really is, with that number 8 titanium, number 8 titanium Bach nib. It's a spectacular pen. Take a look at that video, if nothing else, so you can listen to me for 20 minutes. What have I got planned? Well, next week it's between my Majon collection video or my new Cypress pen. I've got some more that I've put up, that I'm going to put up at thumbnails that, that are still yet to be published, but, we'll make a decision between now and then. So that's what's going to come up for next week. So there you have YouTube reviews, and we'll conclude with that. So that's it, folks. My recap is done for May 4th, 2025. Hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe. For those of you who watch but don't subscribe, I know there's a lot of you. Please subscribe. Just helps the algorithm and it helps the channel. And you know what? It keeps the lights on, as Hemingway Jones would say. I really enjoyed doing this, so I hope you enjoyed it once again. And stay tuned for my Thursday video coming up. Ciao.